Welcome, everyone. I don't think our speaker today needs too much introduction, other than this is Mats. Mats designed and created the Ruby language, which I assume that everyone here has at least some familiarity, if not love, for. And just one note, this is a public talk. It'll be videotaped and put out on YouTube eventually, I suspect, as well as there are some external people. We opened it up to some of the local user groups, too. So nothing confidential, nothing googly, technically. And just everyone enjoy the talk. Mats, thank you.
Hello. This is Mats, and I'm going to talk about the Ruby, the language. Welcome to the world of Ruby language, even though you love it or not. The Ruby is a language I designed in 1993, and the language I love. Even though the Googler is not allowed to use the Ruby. Yeah. Actually, I'm more interested in the Google launch than this talk. But there's no free launch unless you're not Googler. If not, you're Googler. So I have to pay the price by the presentation. Whew. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Ruby 1.9 first. It's released on the last Christmas, 2007, and it's publicly available since then. And I'd like to talk about the Ruby in general, and then talk about the 1.9 new features. The basic strategy for Ruby versioning is like this. We have the three versions of Ruby, the two real and one imaginary. Okay, 1.8 is a stable version. It's the version for daily use. The serious developer, or for business developers, should use this version. It should be stable, and it is compatible between versions in 1.8 series. The latest 1.8 version is 1.8.6. And it's maintained by the other guy, which is more trustable than me. 1.9 is the bleeding edge version. I am mostly working on this version. It is much faster than 1.8, and it's more powerful. And it ought to be the language done right. I mean, I fixed the design mistake I did in the long history of the Ruby language. And due to the changes, it is incompatible from 1.8. And 2.0, which is vaporware, and it is innovation bait. In open source software, the motivation matters most. The community should move forward or die. And so that we need a bait to go on. If we don't have any interesting things to play with, so no one gathered together as a community, and since no innovation or no improvement happened on the language, it will eventually die. So I don't want to make Ruby die in the future. So we need something like the carrot before the horse. So I didn't start 2.0 work yet, but the scalability is the key word for the 2.0. The scalability in data size, scalability in the program size and the scalability in the team size. But I still have vague ideas about these scalability, but not yet concrete yet. So I'm going to talk about the 1.9. So we had some incompatibility, some big ones and some small ones. We have some big incompatibility in 1.9. Some of them are block parameters and strings and M17N, multilingualization. I mean the Unicode handling. And until up to 1.8, the block parameters, the variables in the bar at the head of the blocks, is any variable, can be any variables. But from 1.9, it is local variable only. Just because it was originally designed as the loop abstraction, a block. But since the functional programming people love to abuse the blocks, so it became more and more like the functions, anonymous functions. So we don't use the global variable as a parameters. So we change we adapt the trend, the functional trend. So it becomes the local variables. And according to that change, it is block scope now. So these worked in 1.8, but it won't go in 1.9. The parameter as the global variable or the object attribute or the array references, they are all errors in 1.9. And recently, I talked with the guy from Microsoft, and he was told that never mention the local variable scope too much because I might be angry. And this was my mistake in the past. In the old Ruby, if you see the local variable assignment before the block, the scope, the whole scope, the variable x is shared among the whole program. So the block variable assignment alters the outer x. But from 1.9, the scope is limited to the inside of the block. So the assignment in the block will not alter the outside x, but it gives you warning. Okay. And the strings used to be enumerable in Ruby 1.8, but it's no longer enumerable. If you see the strings as enumerable, you see the strings as a sequence of lines and the characters or the bytes. So it is no single right choice. So it used to work on lines, but it's not suitable for some purposes. So I just abandoned. So you need to specify explicitly for working on each line or each or each byte. So there's no ambiguity. And you can use the enumerator, the virtual lines object, and run loop on it, or the characters or the bytes. So you can specify either way what unit to work on. And finally, we merged the multilingualization or the Unicode function to the Ruby. It's long spotted UTF-8 since the, I don't know, 1998 or something, somewhere. But it's truly encoding aware from the bottom, top to bottom. The strings worked on based on characters. Until 1.8, it worked based on bytes. And it supports character encoding. Like this, with the A, B, C, and these three characters are Japanese. And the first, to retrieve the first character, you get A. And the third character, you get the Japanese character A. So it's really character-based. And according to that, the line indexes, or 3, or the line length, 1, is also working as a character, as a unit. And it now supports the character encoding through the magic comment, just like Python. So if you specify the coding UTF-8 at the top of the program, the program should be in the UTF-8. And you can specify any other encoding, like the EUC JP or the ShiftGIS or the Latin one, or any encoding it supports. If it is the ASCII compatible, it won't work with the UTF-16 yet. And if you open the file, you can specify the encoding of the file if you want to specify explicitly. So this means the open the file to read, which is in UTF-8. And every string read from that file is marked as a UTF-8 file, UTF data. And there's so many small incompatibilities. You're not supposed to read this. But so many. And but the incompatibilities are many, but most of them are trivial. So from the experience of the David Thomas, who is the programmatic programmers, then is the 30% or 30 or 40% of his scripts need to be tweaked a bit, but none of them are severe changes. So they're interesting and not severe incompatibility, I hope. And some features are gone. And I made a mistake. Anyway, file exists now. It's reverted. Anyway, some features are gone. It's a kind of the appendix in the history of the Ruby. And if you use these features, you were warned, like they don't use this method or something. So it's finally removed officially. And there's new features, so many. Again, you are not supposed to read this, but you can count lines. It even continues. Anyway, here's the highlight of the new features. The lambda by an arrow, the method invocation by dot parentheses, and the multiples plot in the argument list, and mandatory arguments at the bottom of the list, and the enumerators. Lambda. Some were against this syntax a lot, but this is how it works. And this is an inverse function that doubles the parameters. And invoke that with the dot, or you can call the classic call, and you get the 4 by doubling 2. And you can specify the optional argument in the anonymous function, and that gives you 10. And the bottom one is the old syntax with the optional parameter, but the second vertical bar is quite confusing. The logical or the end of the parameter, and the parser won't agree with me, so I couldn't do that. That's the primary motivation of the new syntax. And someone says that this one sealed the lambda, and you have to put the arguments before the arrow, like the C# does. But it really does reminds you lambda once you get. For example, I changed the font, twisted bit. Here you are. This is lambda. Anyway, the Perl 6 does same syntax. So we are not alone. Enumerator. We used to have the enumerator as an external module, but since 1.9, it is built in. And we can use the chain enumerator like this. Array, map, and if you don't specify a block to the map method, it returns the enumerator. So you apply the with index method to that enumerator, so you get the index with the value the map gives. The same thing happens with the find with index. So you can have the with index on any methods. Basically, the enumeration method gives you the enumerator if you don't supply blocks to them. So this is an interesting chain of enumerators. And you can use it as an external iterator, like the 2 arrays. You get 2 arrays, and the next method, you call each with a block. It gives you the enumerators for each array, over each arrays. So if you loop on these arrays and take in the next values, so you get the 11 by adding 1 and 10, and 13 by adding 2 and 11, and 7 by adding 3 and 4. And the E2 gives you the exception, since you get at the end of the sequence. Then the loop silently captures the stop iteration exception, so it silently terminates the loop. So if you give the 11, 13, and 7 peacefully. Get it? It's kind of like the iterator in the language called Sader. And it's basically the language change highlights. And then I'm going to talk about the inside implementation. The 1.9, the new virtual machine is integrated into the core. It's called YERV, or in short of the yet another Ruby VM. In the history of Ruby, many people try to improve the language performance by making virtual machines. And it's kind of easy to build up the small virtual machine. So there are so many attempts to create the one. But since the Ruby is the big and the complex language, the complete set of the features and functions for the whole Ruby language is a very tough job. And I myself had a plan for about 4 or 5 years to create my own new VM, but I couldn't make it. I was just too busy to maintain the language itself. So a guy came in, and he presented me a new, yet another among the many other VMs. And I didn't expect too much because so many people failed. But he did through the work. And we finally get the whole working VM for Ruby language. So we worked together to integrate it in our interpreter. So it now runs and replaces the official Ruby interpreter. And it is the guy's name is Koichi Sasada, who is now working on the University of Tokyo, and it's bodyguard interpreter and optimized for Ruby language. And it runs any other language. For example, a guy made a scheme compiler to the YAO VM bytecode, and it runs. But it is primarily targeted to Ruby. And performance was improved by YAO. The core performance is maximum 50 times faster. And in benchmarks, and it's 2 times or 10 times to 10 times faster. But it improves the core only, the interpreter. Other libraries, classes, and the garbage collectors they remain same. So the program doesn't run 50 times faster, unfortunately. And I used the 1.9 for many purposes. And the impression is it's very fast, even though it's not 50 times faster and or 10 times faster. And my vague feeling is it's kind of 1.5 or 2 times faster than the current interpreter. And it's a benchmark result. Okay, this is it's a 1.8 performance. In some benchmarks, it goes higher than 5 times, but sometimes it's a little bit slower. For example, the race, the exception handling system was totally rewritten, and the raising cost goes up just because to reduce the normal cost, non-exceptional case faster. So that in this benchmark, we raised the exceptions a lot. So this is much slower than the current interpreter. But the exception must be exceptional. So it doesn't bother the usual programs, I hope. And we did some memory diet to the new interpreter, like basically making inlining the small data into the object, the structure. In Ruby interpreter, every object has same size of structures, like 5 words, and the additional information is kept in the memory region taken from heap. So if you have the small data, so we make it embedded, we make information inlined in these kind of the objects. And as a result, we reduce the memories. Okay, this is the memory graph of the memory consumption of the RDoc generation. Outdoc is the inline documentation system, and it generates it reads the Ruby source code and generates the documentation in HTML and XML. And by reducing these inlines, the memory reduction goes like this. A little bit reduced a lot. So, what is Ruby anyway? Okay, it's a combination of the language, community, and the implementations. And the language, I think the language matters most. It's the language we love. Okay, some of them do not love the Ruby anyway. And it's dynamic and flexible and productive. And the community. I'm very proud of the nice community of Ruby. And the Martin Fowler once said before me, the Ruby people are nice. So he said it is one of the best community in the whole open source ecosystem. So it's one of the things we're proud. And we now have the multiple implementations of Ruby. And since Ruby is a very complex language, so I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, Python people looked down on me. You can have the only interpreter that you wrote, and there cannot be any other implementation of the language. But now we have. And the Ruby 1.8, or it is called MRI, Maths Ruby Interpreter, and we now have Ruby 1.9, which is the YARV in it, and the JRuby, which runs on JVM, and Iron Ruby, which runs on the Microsoft .NET, and it's officially developed by the Microsoft itself. And Ruby.NET, which also runs on the CLR, but without the support of the dynamic language runtime. And rumor says Google restricts language to their languages Python, Java, C++, and JavaScript in client side. And Steve Yegi implemented the JavaScript on Ruby. JavaScript on Rails. I made a mistake. And using modified Rhino for good reason. I believe that reasons he listed in his blog entry, and it's fair reason, I guess. But if he can use the JavaScript on Rhino, so we have JRuby. Ruby runs on JVM, and it is 1.8 compatible, and it can even execute the Ruby on Rails on JVM. Actually, the Oracle has the site named the Mix. The collaboration over the site. It was developed by the Ruby on Rails, but their IT people had not allowed the MyRuby, MRI, run on their site, their host. So the development team chose to use JRuby. They allowed JVM on their site. So they put the Ruby and they compile into the class files and they put in the Glassfish or something. And it runs. The development was completed in the 6 weeks. And the JRuby now runs faster than 1.8. I was kind of mixed feeling. And it accesses all Java libraries, a bunch of features that Java has. And it's almost end. And I hope to see Ruby helps every programmer in the world to be productive and to enjoy programming and to be happy. That's the primary purpose of Ruby language. Ruby language was designed by me to satisfy me, to make me happy. So, horror selfish. And it happened to feel so many people, so many programmers around the world feel like me. So they feel like they met theirs, or to exaggerate, the soulmate. So this is the language I imagined, I dreamed for a long time or something. And they became happy. They felt happy with programming in Ruby. And I hope they help Google guys as well. Via jailbreak, maybe. And thank you.
So we'll open it up to questions. Again, friendly reminder, no Google-specific questions or technology issue, so that we can make this available to everyone. Also, please speak clearly, repeat your questions so that the people on VC can hear. Well, maybe you can repeat your question, but just speak up so that it's captured.
Going to be stable and no backward compatibilities. Do you include the library there as well? Because Pathmain, for example, has improved a lot in 1.9.
Can you say it more loudly?
Sorry,
Thank you.
you mentioned stability, and you said that 1.8 was intended to remain compatible. Do you include the libraries in that? Because Pathmain, for example, has improved greatly in 1.9, especially for those people, unfortunately, who have to be stuck on Windows. And I wonder, I mean, is there any chance of that getting back into 1.8? Or are people just going to have to wait until some future release past 1.8?
Some incompatible features cannot be getting in the 1.8, but how about the 1.8 stability? And we added some good features to the libraries, the bundle with 1.9. So he asked if these new features available will be available in 1.8 in the future. If it's not bring you incompatibility, right?
Yeah. My question is, are you sort of evaluating them and saying, you know, if this works out, we'll move it back to 1.8?
And the 1.8 maintainer, which is the good guy, and decided some good features which is compatible, which does not break any existing program, will be added in the gradually.
Can we vote for those?
In the list, yes.
Thank you.
I have a mic here. If anyone has a question, I'll bring it over.
I find it curious that every release over the past couple of years, there have been major releases on Christmas. Is there a special reason for releasing on Christmas?
Several reasons. And it's just before the holiday season. So I work hard on the Ruby and get holiday after the release. That's the first. And I'm living in a non-Christian country, and I'm a Christian, and I wanted to mention Christianity in a very modest way. But this year, it was tough. I couldn't any time that can be spent with my family on the Christmas day. I was mistake. It was a mistake. So I would change the schedule to a week before Christmas next year, I guess.
Any other questions?
Can you see VC questions?
Yes?
It's not clear what final syntax will be available in Ruby 2. So my question is there an official Rubification or something similar like Python enhancement proposal in Ruby?
Could somebody repeat for me?
It's not clear what final syntax will be available in the Ruby 2. So my question is there any official Ruby specification of the language or something similar like type of Ruby in-house proposal?
The JRuby people worked with the Rubinius people. Our Rubinius is the interpreter that written in the implemented in the Smalltalk way. The Ruby written in Ruby, and these people joined together to get up the specification, which the set of test suites, and they working with us. So it will be the official specification for the 1.8 language after it finished. So they are working on it. Get it? I don't think so.
Yes, I think that answered the question. Yeah.
Hi, me again. I mean, Effect 1.9 is now released. 1.8 is already being maintained by someone else. What's the future plan? How soon are you going to shift 1.9 over to somebody else and start in earnest on 2.0?
You mean the plan for 1.8?
Well, for all of them, really. And primarily, what are you doing now?
I'm working on 1.9.
Still.
Yeah, improving 1.9, both the language design and implementation. And if you settle the 1.9, and maybe after release of the 1.9.1, and I will start working on 2.0, which is vaporware now.
So 2.0 is, I mean, because I've been hearing about 2.0 since about 2001, but, you know, 2.0 is like on the doorstep now. Mm-hmm. It's close.
Could you repeat again?
I've been hearing about 2.0 and write since like 2001, but you're saying that the time is near. Mm-hmm. It's almost upon us.
Yeah, time is near. Yeah, finally. Yeah, even 1.9 in the Ruby integrated with YAWP is a long time dream of me, and it's finally done last year. So we are stepping forward.
Question?
Yes.
What regular expression engine will Ruby 1.9 use, and will the regex syntax be documented somewhere this time?
It's Oniguruma, and the Oniguruma has its documentation of the regular expression it supports, and we are working on the documenting both 1.8 and 1.9, so it will be available as a Ruby side.
Great, thank you.
Do you have time for another VC question? Another remote question?
Yes.
I'm just wondering, do you have any kind of timeline on when call CC is going to come back? Because I noticed call CC isn't in 1.9.
Well,
I didn't have it on the continuations.
Mm-hmm. I know, and you can use call CC in current 1.9, but you have to explicitly require the continuation library, just because it's kind of dangerous and it easily clashes the Ruby program it uses. So from 1.9. You have to explicitly declare I'm going to do something dangerous, you know. And a guy around me, once suggested, how about naming this continuation library the continuation library that I agree with that dangerous things, something like that. And as a result, you can use it if you require a continuation library.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Mats. This is Guido van Rossum. Welcome to Google. Great that you're here. I was wondering about your string data type. I don't know if you changed it for 1.9, but I noticed that you have direct indexing, like you gave an example where the third character was a Japanese character. Do you use UTF-8 internally for string representations, and how do you implement, if so, how do you efficiently implement that direct access?
Mm-hmm. Well, we use the raw byte sequences as internal data. So we don't have any single internal encoding, just because there is some kind of translation problem we experienced in the past, and we don't want to any that kind of the from the other encoding to Unicode and round trip conversion problem. So I use if I process the UTF-8 data, I want to process it as a UTF-8. And if I have the legacy Japanese data, like in ShiftJS, and I want to process it in ShiftJS. So we use the encoding the data structure inside in C. It's a kind of a set of functions to access these, like the calculating an index or the calculating length or something, and that we use that as a what you call it, a filter to see give you the illusion of the sequence of the characters, and you may feel that it's inefficient, but from our long time experience giving these illusion for a long time in Ruby, so it's most of the case it doesn't go that bad if you use the regular expression correctly. Most of the character-based process is based on the regular expression. So regular expression, the routines are optimized. If it is optimized, it won't be any severe problem. Yeah, severe problems can be avoided.
Okay, but it does sound like your index a character by numeric index it can be inefficient. I would sort of conjecture that, for example, reversing a string using that API would probably be order n squared. If you iterate from the end, like first you say how many characters are there in the string, and then ask for the last one, and then for the one before that, and so on, that would probably be very inefficient.
Yeah, it would be inefficient comparing to for example, the UTF-32 as an internal data. Yes, we don't have any O1 access to any specific index inside of the sequence, right?
Okay.
But in the most of the case, we can have some tricks to reduce the complexity.
Yeah, I agree that just letting the regular expression engine figure it out most of the time works great.
You have another question?
Parameters.
Repeat it, please.
What is the status of named parameters which should be available in Ruby 2? Because I heard very strange ideas about how it will be implemented. Why just not copy from Python syntax, which is clean and easy to understand?
Did you get it?
You try again? We didn't
Speak louder.
quite understand that.
What is the status of named parameters in Ruby 2? Because I heard French ideas how it will be implemented, and why just not to copy from Python syntax, which is easy to understand and to use?
We use Python syntax for Ruby.
Name parameters.
Or named parameters?
A named parameter. Yeah, named parameter is going to add it in 2.0, and it's very primitive to comparing to the ones in Python. It's merely a hash of symbols that can be specified after at the bottom of the argument. Is it okay?
But did you decide what will be the final syntax? Because there is no specs, we're only working, and nobody knows what will be in Ruby 2.
Right. The syntax. Okay. It's the current terminated symbols like the open, a pass, and the encoding colon, encoding name, or something like that. The attribute colon value, comma, attribute attribute name, colon, and the values. That goes on.
But is it not confused with dictionary syntax, with hash syntax, with new syntax, which is very similar with common?
But it is hash
Between
at the bottom.
this.
Like this. Can you see it?
Can you see that in the VC site?
Yeah.
On the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Goes like this. Get it? Then it is a hash at the bottom.
So what if you want to add another hash to this list of parameters? It will be confusing.
This is hash. Get it? This is a shorthand for. Oh, now I expect.
I think,
But this is still complex.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what the questioner is after is, can you have the name parameters as well as a hash of values? Is that correct?
I think that's it, yeah.
Can we have the hash argument?
Yeah, as Rails uses to specify a hash of values in your parameter list,
Yes.
as well as the name parameters as something separate, or?
It's merely for the caller side, and it's merely a hash that extended. So it's nothing special about the arguments.
I think probably the best answer is it's Ruby 2.0, so wait and see. It's all just speculative right now. I think that's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the end of the talk. Thanks for coming, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you to Yukihiro Matsumoto.
Sure.
And remember...